From that moment, my brother and his wife told me they wanted the house for themselves alone. They said I needed to find a new place to live. My mother agreed with them and began treating me like a burden. I even discovered I had been paying most of the household bills. I could not believe the level of disrespect I was facing. I decided to act. My name is Elena Vargas. I am 33 years old and I live in my parents' house. I moved back after finishing university. At first I tried working in the corporate world to build my career. But the pressure was too overwhelming for me. So I decided to return home. While unemployed, I started looking for jobs I could do from home. With my background in science, I became a freelance engineer. I began with small projects. The money was not much at first, but the experience of working for myself was very rewarding. Working independently was very different from regular jobs. I realized I could earn a decent income without dealing with constant office politics or unnecessary social interactions. Over time, I got better at what I did and my confidence grew. As a result, I started receiving more projects and earning more money. In just 1 year, I was making the same as someone with a regular corporate job. However, the real problem was not the work I did. It was that my parents, especially my mother, did not understand what I was doing. My father listened and understood when I explained how I earned money. But my mother found it harder to accept. She believed in traditional ways of working, like going to an office. She did not understand how I could make a living online. No matter how much I tried to explain it, she kept questioning me. She would ask things like, "How long do you plan to stay here?" It seemed she did not believe my work was real. Even when I showed her proof like client emails and bank statements that proved my income, she still distrusted me. She thought my work was shady or part of something suspicious like a scam or some strange cult. No matter how many times I showed her that the payments were legitimate and that my work was completely honest, she remained worried. She would say things like, "What if you lose this job? What will you do? If you end up depending on unemployment benefits that does not last forever?" Her doubts were endless and no explanation seemed to calm her. Despite that, I decided to keep going. I was determined to prove that my work was real and that I could succeed on my own terms. It was not easy, but I knew I had to stay strong and continue. I had been thinking about moving out to live alone, but I did not have enough savings to make it happen. Just then my father's health began to deteriorate. His legs and back got worse and he needed nursing care. He had to retire early, which meant a sudden loss of income. Although he tried to reassure me, saying my pension will be enough, I knew my mother's spending habits and I was not sure they could manage. My father looked so tired and worried about the uncertain future. He had always supported me during university and when I returned home due to mental health issues. The idea of leaving him alone while I moved out did not feel right. My mother was also struggling, confused and upset by my father's sudden health problems. While thinking about everything, I felt a strong sense of responsibility. It was time to step up and support my family. I told my father, "Do not worry, from now on I will help support the family." He was surprised and asked me, "Are you sure you can handle this? Will your income be enough?" I knew it would be a challenge, but I was determined. With confidence, I showed my father my financial situation and explained that I was earning a steady income thanks to my freelance work. My father, who had always been understanding of my circumstances, was surprised, but also proud of how much I had achieved. Encouraged by his confidence in me, I promised to help with household expenses, medical bills and anything else they needed. Every month I started transferring a fixed amount of money to my father's bank account to help cover the bills. Since my mother had been using my father's credit card, I decided to open a new account in my name and gave her an additional card to use. My father kindly reminded her to try spending less and be more careful with money. However, my mother was not very happy. She even asked if Elena should not be the one moving out of the house. I explained how much I was contributing financially and how difficult it would be for them without my help. Despite everything, she still did not fully believe in my efforts or trust me completely. I had to convince my father to persuade my mother to let me stay in the house and continue supporting them while I worked and helped with household responsibilities. However, I noticed my mother began taking my help for granted. Her attitude became stricter and she frequently made blunt comments. She would say things like, "Why have you not finished your chores?" I felt that no matter how much I did, it was never enough for her. Despite that, I stayed focused on helping my family and doing my part. I knew that even if my efforts were not always appreciated, they were necessary. I was determined to keep going for the sake of my father and our family. I tried explaining to my mother how difficult it was to balance my work with household tasks. But it seemed she did not understand and dismissed my concerns as unimportant. Over time, the tension between us became evident. Our relationship seemed to deteriorate more and more, and I did not know how to fix it. My father, on the other hand, understood how hard I was working, and always offered me his support. Although things between my mother and me were complicated, we continued like this for a while. 1 year later, my father's health suddenly worsened. He needed to be hospitalized, and I began visiting him every day. I spent time with him, offering comfort and trying to reassure him. I could see how much he valued my efforts, and he often thanked me, saying, "I know it is not easy with your mother, but thank you for everything you are doing." His words meant so much to me, especially because I knew the situation at home was becoming more difficult. While my father faced his health problems, the relationship between my mother and me continued to deteriorate. The pressure and stress were affecting me, but I remained committed to helping my family. I thought about all the things my mother had done for me when I was younger, especially during my student years. And that gave me strength to keep going despite the difficulties. Those memories kept me firm in my decision to continue helping even when everything felt overwhelming. But then something unexpected happened that completely changed my life. My brother Alejandro and his wife Lucia moved in with us. I did not see it coming at all. Alejandro explained that they were moving in to help me and relieve some of the burden. This news took me by surprise. My mother did not say much but avoided eye contact, and I felt there was something more behind the situation. While they said they came to help, my mother, with a touch of sarcasm, suggested that now I could contribute even more to the household. While reflecting on what was happening, I realized there was more to the story. My brother had graduated from a prestigious university and worked for a very recognized company. I wondered why he and his wife felt the need to move in with us. In theory, both were doing well financially. This made me question their true reasons for being here. I was also working hard to support my family and wondered if they could manage without me. The transition to living with my brother and his wife was much harder than I expected. Lucia woke me up early every day shouting, "Wake up, Elena, prepare breakfast." Even though I was already awake and busy with my work, it seemed she did not care. She kept knocking on my door, demanding that I get up to make breakfast. "Come on, hurry up," she would say. I did not want to argue, but I felt frustrated. I was trying to manage my work and support the family, but I felt no one respected my efforts. Despite that, I forced myself to help. Our mornings used to be relaxed. We were not used to strict routines, and everyone had breakfast at their own pace. However, when my mother and Lucia were around, it seemed everything had to be done with urgency. I always thought it was natural for a wife to prepare breakfast for her husband. But Lucia insisted that everyone should contribute. Reluctantly, I ended up preparing a good breakfast. I carefully made soft scrambled eggs, a fresh lettuce salad, toast with butter and juicy sausage. I thought she would appreciate the effort, but when I presented it, her reaction was completely different from what I expected. "Is this all you made for breakfast? This is not enough," they complained. The frustration started bubbling inside me. I could not believe they were so critical after all the effort I had put in. Finally, I could not take it anymore, and I snapped. "Well, you do not have to eat it." My tone caught them off guard. Lucia looked furious and replied sharply, "Who do you think you are?" Alejandro joined in, mockingly saying with a laugh, "What kind of attitude is that? Who do you think you are really?" I tried to explain myself. "I have work commitments," I said, hoping they would understand that I could not drop everything to attend to them. But instead of showing understanding, Alejandro responded with sarcasm. "What job are you talking about? Do you seriously think that is a job?" His lack of understanding and the constant criticism pushed me to the limit. I took my laptop, ignored their comments, and left the house. While walking, I tried to calm down and think about what to do. Outside, I could hear Alejandro shouting behind me, demanding to know where I was going. I did not answer, I just needed to escape. I headed straight to my father's hospital room. When I entered, he looked up surprised. "What is wrong? You look upset," he said. I sat down and let everything out. "I just had a big argument with Alejandro and the others," I admitted, feeling overwhelmed. My father's expression was one of concern. "I did not realize things had gotten so bad," he said quietly. "I am sorry, Elena. Do not let that weigh on you. You do not have to stay in a situation that makes you unhappy. You can live your life however you want." His words gave me relief and clarity. But I was still worried about my mother. "Mom," I asked, "maybe she would feel more comfortable if Alejandro stays in the house." My father shook his head. "Your happiness also matters, Elena. You do not have to stay in a place where you are not comfortable. The only thing I want is for you to live happy as you decide." Encouraged by his support, I made a decision. That afternoon when I returned home, I knew it was time to leave and create a space for myself where I could live freely and in peace. As I entered the house, I felt like I was in a tense scene from a movie. My mother, my brother, and my sister-in-law were sitting there with serious expressions. Before I could ask what was happening, my brother accused me. "Why were you not at work?" "I had to take the day off because of you," he said angrily. In my mind, everything started spinning. I wondered why it was so easy for him to take time off from his job. Their voices grew louder as the argument intensified. Finally, my brother shouted, "Get out of here. From now on, the three of us will live here together. If you do not want to stay, then leave. We do not need someone like you around." I was shocked. "Why? What did I do?" I asked, hoping for an explanation. But they ignored my protests. Both my brother and his wife insisted, "You are no longer needed here. We can handle everything ourselves." Even my mother, taking their side, seemed to think I was only getting in the way. I felt anger and frustration growing inside me. They completely ignored everything I had done for the family, especially my financial support. They were so focused on their own concerns that they did not care about my efforts. Furious at their insensitivity, I decided to take action. Silently, I transferred all the money from the credit card my mother used every day to another account under my control. I knew she would be surprised when her card stopped working. I moved the money from my father's account to a separate account I created specifically for his medical expenses. My mother did not know about this change. In fact, I had transferred the family's financial responsibilities to my brother and his wife. Although I did not know exactly how much my brother earned, I was sure this would pressure him a lot once they finished sorting out the finances. After that, I packed my things and, standing in front of them, I declared that I was leaving. My announcement took them by surprise for a moment. They stood there stunned. But while I observed them, I realized they were secretly enjoying the situation. My brother sneered. "Finally, you are going. We have never dealt with someone as problematic as you. You will not come back, of course." "Of course not," I replied firmly. I did not contact them again. They smiled and mocked me as I walked out the door. But I could not help wondering what they would think when they realized how much they had depended on me. To start over in a new and peaceful place, I felt a sense of relief. Finally, I had the freedom to live my way. I put my energy into my work and started feeling renewed and focused. But as I expected, my tranquility did not last long. My brother soon called me, interrupting the peace I had worked so hard to create. "I told you not to contact me. What is the problem now?" I asked sharply, unable to hide the irritation in my voice. On the other end of the line, my brother sounded surprised and a little desperate. "Elena, what did you do with the family finances?" he asked urgently. "We cannot manage anything." I stayed calm and replied, "I told you many times about my work and how I was handling everything. But neither you nor Mom believed me. I have been supporting all of you this whole time." "Well, Mom said many things and I guess I got confused," he admitted with a trembling voice. "You cannot expect me to keep helping now that I am no longer there. It is your responsibility to solve it," I said firmly. Shortly after, my brother called me again. This time he was practically begging me. "Elena, I need money, please help me," he said urgently. I was confused. "Are you joking? You have a good job at a big company?" I asked. To my surprise, he confessed. "I got fired, Elena. I made a big mistake at work." His words left me speechless. I began to realize why he had returned to our parents' house. He must have thought there was a lot of money, perhaps relying on the idea of a stable pension after our father retired. The idea that he discovered the truth about who had been supporting the family amused me. But I also felt disappointed. Soon his wife and our mother joined in asking for money, saying they had almost run out of savings. My mother even admitted, "Your father refuses to contribute to the household finances. I have had enough. I have supported all of you long enough. It is time for you to take care of yourselves," I said firmly. I cut ties with their financial problems and told them I would not help anymore. My father, tired of the constant tension in his relationship with my mother, decided to leave quietly. He consulted a lawyer and moved to a quiet place to live alone. I continued visiting him daily, but I focused on building my own life. While listening to updates about my brother from a mutual friend, he had moved to a small apartment and was living very frugally. My mother, who had always been a housewife, struggled with her sudden need to find a job. My brother found it difficult to deal with younger colleagues and their opinions at work. His wife finally left him and he stayed with my mother to face their challenges together. My mother still had her old habit of spending too much, and I worried about the debts she was accumulating. Despite all their struggles, I knew I had made the right decision by walking away. It was time for them to learn to handle life without depending on me. However, I realized I could not keep helping everyone. I decided to focus on my own goals and worked hard in a quiet and comfortable space. Little by little I saved more money and thought about exploring new opportunities. While building my future, I made sure to protect it. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.